You're correct. I think the reason that comes up, and sometimes that's so unfair because somebody will hear Republican, somebody will hear Democrat, and hope to God we don't really care when it comes to these children.
Exactly.
But I think what had happened is that Larry King, who was the manager of the Franklin Credit Union, he is the one that took the $40 million. He's the one that is in jail for 15 years now. He's the one that they say was the instigator of this entire child sex ring and the whole thing, and he was huge in Republican politics. And so that is why I think you hear that, but it is so unfair for anybody to say Republican and think, because I have to understand this. I don't know, but I would think that what I read, you'd have to have Republicans, Democrats, and people that aren't even in a party for this thing to have gotten that big. So
perhaps the research that I did that this person probably was not a Republican, obviously.
Exactly. So sometimes people are a little biased when they say that. So that's a good point. I don't think that it's all Republicans.
Oh, no.
You know,
everybody.
How many children are we talking about in terms of, how many, was this hundreds of children or just a couple? Or?
It was hundreds of children, but it was only a small group that came forward and told what had happened. I think it was about 25 kids that came forward.
And when they came forward, what happened is that people started dying. There was a plane crash,
mysterious deaths,
and with and the only thing that they said was that they noted that it didn't. The plane broke up in midair. It did not break up on the ground. His briefcase was missing. So all these things, and I'm telling you, when you start reading about this, you're going to get so much. I think our thing is, the reason why Jackie has brought this up is that we need to keep our eye on this prize, and it's the children, and because we can't change what happened with this and these conspiracies, but what we can do is help these kids, and a lot of them that were going to testify after the plane crash and some of the other deaths, they just went, nope, didn't happen.
Yep.
They recanted the whole bit, which I couldn't very well blame them, so.
I think we have to also realize that that's a common theme when we have children that are abused anyway. That, silence is something that it's like they're invisible. And we have kids living next door to us. We have kids that we know that we don't know what has happened to them, what shoes they walked into. But we can look and say, this child is angry. This child psychologically is not right. This child may not have gotten ever any help or been able to even tell anyone what has happened to them. So we really have to look sometimes at a bigger picture than what we just see on the surface. And that's what you're going to see, and you kind of hear that theme throughout this research that was done and what has happened to these children. And that happens here in Cincinnati. It happens everywhere.
That was my final question. I'm going to hog the mic, but I am a mic on. What can we do as average little people in terms of preventing this from happening or helping or whatever? What can we do?
I can respond from a social work standpoint. In your own community where you have influence, where you see children and you suspect something's going on, we are mandated, if we even suspect as a social worker, we're mandated to report that. And I don't think that should be limited to just social workers. I think that needs to be the creed of anyone in the community. If you suspect that a child is being neglected or abused, call someone on the phone and report it. There's so many kids, they're so afraid, again, that silence that Delisa spoke of. They're afraid to speak up because they have this dichotomous kind of relationship with their parent who is the abuser. They are being abused and they hate the abuse, but they love the abuser. And they don't know how to work through that. We as adults don't know how to work through those dichotomous kind of relationships. So how can we expect children to? So I would say to you, my daughter, if you see it in your community.
We're not related.
That check I left you at home?
Mother, I love you.
It was for my daughter. It was for my daughter. But thank you for, in the interest of time, we've got to move on. But thank you so much for that. We're going to lighten it up a little bit. Lady J, come tell us something. This is Lady J of Shades of J. Who's in the house? Who's in the house? See, you hesitated. One of our supporters, the place that I love breakfast is at the Hilton. They have the best breakfast in Cincinnati. Treat yourself. Don't hesitate to come up to the mic.
Come on, come on.
Who's in the house?
My name is Valerie Barber Evans, and I would like to explain to you my relationship with Jackie. She is my sister friend from way, way back when. We have been through so many things, good, bad, and different, but through it all, we still here today. I love you. Happy birthday and much success on all